The Pilates studio mirror doesn't lie, even with its flattering lighting. I adjust my Lululemon top and study my reflection while the instructor drones on about engaging our cores. 45 isn't old, I've told myself 100 times this week. Jennifer Aniston is 55 and still looks amazing. But then I catch sight of Meredith, my daughter's friend, stretching on the mat beside me. 21 years old with that effortless glow youth provides for free. No retinol, no Botox, no serum in the world can replicate it. She smiles at me, all perfect teeth and dewy skin. "Mrs. Castellano, you're killing it today. I can barely keep up." I force a smile back, hating how her compliment feels like charity. Looking back now, I wonder if she was already sleeping with Lucas then. If her phone was lighting up with his texts while we held our planks. If she went straight from our class to his bed. But that Tuesday morning, I was still blissfully ignorant. Still thought she was just Chloe's sweet friend who liked to stay in shape. 6 months ago, I wouldn't have noticed her at all. 6 months ago, I was too busy basking in my newfound freedom, drunk on male attention I hadn't felt in years. 6 months ago, I thought I was so clever, convincing Lucas to open our marriage so I could feel desired again. Now I know exactly where she went after those Pilates classes. Now I know why she started coming to my Wednesday morning sessions instead of her usual evening ones. Now I see the photos on Instagram of her driving home to the domestic life I threw away. I imagine her punching in the garage door code, a code I probably gave her years ago when she was just my daughter's friend. The karma is so perfect it's almost poetic. Almost. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you how I managed to hand my husband to a woman young enough to be our daughter on a silver platter, all because I was bored and thought I deserved better. Lucas and I met in college at Case Western. He was studying engineering, I was in marketing, and we collided at a party where he was the only guy not trying to get me drunk. That should have been my first clue about who he was. Steady, reliable, safe. But at 22, safe felt like exciting. His quiet confidence, the way he actually listened when I talked, how he remembered little details about our conversations. I fell hard. We married right after graduation, moved to a starter home in Shaker Heights, had our daughter Chloe 2 years later. The American Dream, Cleveland edition. Lucas worked his way up at Progressive Insurance. I bounced between marketing agencies, and we built a life. Soccer games, school plays, family vacations to Cedar Point. If it sounds mundane, that's because it was. Beautifully, boringly mundane. Somewhere around year 15, the boredom started winning. Lucas still looked at me like I was the girl he'd met at that college party, but I'd catch myself in mirrors and see someone else. Someone whose body had stretched and sagged, whose face showed every late night with a sick kid, every stressful deadline, every year that passed. He'd reach for me at night, and I'd think about the client who'd flirted with me at lunch, wonder what it would be like to be wanted by someone who didn't have to love me. So I started saying no. I'm tired. Not tonight. Maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow became next week, became next month. I told myself it was temporary, that I'd get my groove back once I felt better about myself. Started working out more, bought expensive skincare, got subtle work done that Lucas pretended not to notice. Nothing helped. The problem wasn't how I looked. It was how I felt when he looked at me, like I was settling, like I was already dead and just hadn't realized it yet. 8 months. That's how long we went without touching beyond perfunctory kisses goodbye. Lucas stopped trying around month 5, and I was relieved. No more guilt, no more excuses. We became roommates who happened to share a mortgage and a daughter. Then Chloe came home from college for spring break, full of her women's studies theories and modern relationship ideas. We were having wine on the deck. Lucas was inside working on yet another endless spreadsheet like he'd started doing more and more, when she brought it up. "Mom, can I ask you something personal?" "Sure, honey." "Are you and Dad okay? Like really okay?" I deflected, said we were fine, just busy, but Chloe had inherited my BS detector. Mom, I'm 20. I'm not a kid. I can see you're both miserable. That's when she planted the seed. Told me about her professor who'd been married 30 years and credits their happiness to having an open marriage. How monogamy was an outdated construct. How plenty of couples found renewed passion by exploring connections with others. I'm not saying you should do it, she added quickly, pulling her legs up onto the chair. But Professor Holloway says the nuclear family is suffocating. Maybe you guys just need to deconstruct the relationship to save it? Like ethical non-monogamy. It's not cheating if everyone consents. It could be the reboot you need. I should have shut it down immediately. What kind of daughter suggests her mother sleep with other men? But the wine and the loneliness and the thought of being desired again made me listen, really listen. Your father would never go for that, I said. You might be surprised. He just wants you to be happy, Mom. Anyone can see that. The idea grew like a weed. Every time Lucas smiled at me sadly, every night we went to bed without touching, every day I felt invisible. The weed grew stronger. I started reading about it online, finding forums full of people who swore it saved their marriages. Confirmation bias at its finest, but I didn't see that then. I saw a solution. It took me 3 weeks to bring it up. Lucas was in his home office, buried in one of his never-ending reports, when I knocked. We need to talk, I said. He looked up and I saw fear flash across his face. Okay. I'd practiced my speech a dozen times. How I loved him, but felt dead inside. How I needed to feel desired to remember who I was. How this could make our marriage stronger. I delivered it like a presentation to a client, all logic and bullet points. Lucas just stared at me when I finished. You want to sleep with other people? I want us to have the option, I corrected. Both of us. It's not about replacing each other. It's about adding to what we have. What we have? He laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Selena, we haven't had sex in 8 months. What exactly would we be adding to? That's exactly my point. Maybe if I felt desired by others, I'd remember how to feel desired by you. So I don't make you feel desired? It's not about you. It's literally about me. You're saying I'm not enough. We went in circles for an hour. He was hurt, confused, angry. Everything I'd expected. What I hadn't expected was how quickly he'd give in. Fine, he said finally, voice flat. If this is what you need, fine. Really? I was shocked. I'd prepared for more fighting, maybe counseling, a longer negotiation. What's the point in arguing? You've already decided. At least this way you're being honest about it. I should have heard the defeat in his voice, should have recognized the sound of a man giving up. But all I heard was permission. We didn't set rules. I was too excited, he was too resigned. I told myself we'd figure it out as we went. The important thing was I had my freedom. The first time I acted on it was 2 weeks later. A pharmaceutical rep who'd been flirting with me for months, all white teeth and expensive suit. We met for drinks that turned into dinner that turned into a hotel room. He told me I was gorgeous, that my husband was an idiot, that he'd been fantasizing about me. It was exactly what I'd wanted. He checked every box. Hot, aggressive, focused entirely on my body. But when I was driving home at 2 a.m., scrubbing his cologne off my neck with a wet wipe so Lucas wouldn't smell it, I didn't feel empowered. I just felt like I needed a shower. But I pushed through, told myself it was guilt, that I'd get over it. The second time was easier. A guy from my gym, 15 years younger, all muscles and stamina. He couldn't believe I was 45, said I had the body of a 30-year-old. I floated on that compliment for days. Lucas never asked details, never questioned the new lingerie, the late returns home, the way I'd suddenly started caring about my appearance again. He just got quieter, spent more time at work, stopped trying to engage beyond necessary conversation about Bills and Chloe. 3 months in, I'd been with 4 different men. Each one told me what I wanted to hear, made me feel young and desirable. but the high never lasted. I'd come home to find Lucas asleep on his side of the bed, careful not to cross into my space, even unconsciously, and something would twist in my chest. But I'd pushed it down. This is what I thought I needed. Then Meredith started coming around more. She'd been Chloe's best friend since middle school, practically lived at our house during high school. Sweet girl, pre-med at Cleveland State, always polite and helpful. When Chloe went back to school after spring break, Meredith kept stopping by. Said she missed having a second family, that her own parents were going through a rough patch. Lucas was always home when she came over, working from his office, puttering in the garage, watching TV. They'd chat while I was at the gym or out with friends. Nothing inappropriate. I wasn't worried. Why would I be? Lucas wasn't the type to chase after college girls. And even if he was, we had an open marriage now. Fair was fair. I actually thought it was cute, in a pathetic way. Lucas making a young friend, probably boring her with his engineering stories and dad jokes. Meredith was sweet to humor him. I even made jokes about it to my friends. Lucas has a little admirer, I'd say. This young girl who hangs on his every word. It's adorable. They'd exchange looks I didn't understand then. Pity, maybe. Or secondhand embarrassment at my blindness. The first time I suspected something was a Tuesday evening. I came home from a date, a bartender from Ohio City who turned out to be married, to find Meredith's car in the driveway. Normal enough, except it was nearly 11. I found them in the living room, watching some action movie, sitting on opposite ends of the couch. Completely innocent. Except for the way they jumped when I walked in. The way Meredith smoothed her hair. The way Lucas wouldn't meet my eye. Just keeping Lucas company, Meredith said brightly. We were talking about my organic chemistry class and lost track of time. I laughed it off, told her to drive safe. Like nothing was off. Didn't mention the way her lipstick was smudged or how Lucas's shirt was untucked. Because I didn't want to see it. My husband, my steady, boring Lucas with a 21-year-old, impossible. He didn't have it in him. I was the adventurous one, the one who needed more. He was just Lucas. But the signs kept piling up. Meredith's overnight bag in her car when she stopped by for coffee. Lucas actually caring about his appearance again. New cologne, regular haircuts, gym membership he actually used. The way they texted constantly, him actually smiling at his phone like a teenager. The confirmation came from Chloe, of all people. She called me one afternoon, casual as anything. So, Mom, just wanted to give you a heads up. Meredith told me about her and Dad. My heart stopped. What? Yeah, she wanted to make sure I was cool with it, which I am, obviously. I mean, it was basically my idea for you guys to open things up. And Meredith's awesome, so if Dad's happy... I couldn't speak. Literally couldn't form words. Mom, you okay? I thought you knew already. Meredith said she thought you knew. I managed to mumble something about being fine, just surprised, and got off the phone. Then I sat in my car in the Whole Foods parking lot and tried to process what was happening. My husband was sleeping with my daughter's best friend, a girl who'd eaten countless dinners at our table, who'd come on family vacations, who called me Mrs. C and asked my advice about boys. And my daughter, my own daughter, was fine with it. More than fine. Supportive. The rage that filled me was unlike anything I'd ever felt. How dare he? How dare she? How dare they make a fool of me in my own home with my own daughter's blessing? I confronted Lucas that night. Waited until he came home from working late. Watched him walk in looking happier than I'd seen him in years. How long? I asked. He knew immediately what I meant. No denials, no games. 2 months. Meredith, really? You're that much of a cliché? You wanted this, he said quietly. You opened this door. I didn't want you to fuck my daughter's friend. No, you wanted me to sit at home alone while you slept your way through Cleveland. Sorry, I didn't follow your script. The fight that followed was epic. I accused him of being a predator, going after a girl he'd known since she was 13. He threw back every rejection, every excuse, every night I'd come home smelling like another man's cologne. We said things designed to wound, to scar. But the worst part was when he got quiet. When the anger drained out of him and he just looked sad. "I loved you," he said, looking at me like I was a stranger. "Only you. For 23 years I never looked at another woman. I came home to you. But that wasn't enough. You were bored. You wanted excitement. Well, congratulations, Selena. You got your open marriage. We're both seeing other people now. Isn't this exactly what you asked for?" He moved into the guest room that night. Within weeks, they were openly dating. Not just hooking up. Dinner dates, movies, Saturday mornings at the West Side Market, all the things we used to do before I decided he wasn't enough. I kept seeing my roster of men, but it felt different now. Hollow. They still told me I was beautiful, still made me feel desired, but all I could think about was Lucas laughing at something Meredith said. Lucas looking at her the way he used to look at me. Lucas being happy without me. My friends were divided. Some thought he was disgusting, a middle-aged man with a girl young enough to be his daughter. Others pointed out the obvious. I'd asked for this. I'd opened the marriage. I had no right to complain now. "But there should be rules," I insisted over wine at book club. "Boundaries. You don't sleep with people you know, especially not family friends." "Did you set those rules?" asked Patricia, always the voice of reason. I hadn't. Of course I hadn't, because I'd never imagined Lucas would actually use the open marriage. I'd pictured him at home, faithful and waiting while I had my adventures. Maybe some mild flirtation with age-appropriate women, nothing serious. Not this, never this. The situation reached critical mass at Chloe's graduation party. She'd finished her junior year early, earning some special certificate, and we threw a party at the house. Extended family, friends, neighbors, everyone commenting on what a lovely family we had, how proud we must be. Meredith came, of course. Chloe's best friend, practically family. She wore a modest sundress, helped me in the kitchen, played the perfect guest. But I saw the looks between her and Lucas, the casual touches, the way she lit up when he entered a room. Worse, everyone else saw it too. The whispers, the stares, the judgment. My sister pulled me aside. "Selena, what the hell is going on? Is Lucas actually with that girl?" "We have an arrangement," I said stiffly. "An arrangement? She's a baby. What is he thinking?" But I could see in her eyes she wasn't just judging him. She was judging me. Wondering how I'd let this happen. How I'd lost control of my own marriage so spectacularly. The final straw came later that night. The party was winding down, just family left, when I went looking for paper towels in the garage. Found Lucas and Meredith there, not doing anything inappropriate, just talking. But the way they were looking at each other. "I think I'm falling for you," she was saying. "Like, really falling. Is that crazy?" "If it is, I'm crazy too," Lucas replied. I must have made a sound because they both turned. Meredith had the grace to look embarrassed. Lucas just looked worn out, like he'd aged 5 years in one night. "Selena," he said, "we need to talk." We sent Meredith home and finished cleaning up in silence. Chloe went to stay at a friend's house, sensing the storm coming. Finally, it was just us in the kitchen where we'd shared 23 years of meals and conversations and life. "I want a divorce," Lucas said. Even though I'd seen it coming, the words hit like a physical blow. Because of her? Because of us. Because this isn't a marriage anymore. Hasn't been for a long time. "So you're choosing a 21-year-old over your wife? Over your family?" "You chose random men over your husband. How is this different?" "It's completely different. I wasn't falling in love with them."
"No," he agreed. "You were just using them to feed your ego. At least what Meredith and I have is real."
"Real? She's a child. She's an adult who treats me with respect, who actually wants to be with me, who doesn't act like touching me is a chore." Every word was true and cut deep because of it. But I couldn't stop fighting, couldn't accept that I'd orchestrated my own downfall. "What about Chloe, your daughter? Who supports me? Who wants me to be happy? Who understood before either of us that this marriage was dead? We went round and round until the sun came up. Me pleading, bargaining, threatening. Him steady and resolved in a way I'd never seen. The Lucas I'd married would have caved, would have tried to make it work. This Lucas was different, stronger, happier. The divorce was quick. No kids to fight over since Chloe was an adult. The house sold fast in the hot market. Assets divided fairly. Lucas didn't even fight me on alimony, though he probably could have given the circumstances. He just wanted out. Wanted to start fresh. He moved into a modern condo downtown, started over at 46 with his 21-year-old girlfriend. I got an apartment in Beechwood, told myself it was temporary while I figured out my next move. He moved west, I stayed east, like we'd split the city the same way we split our lives. The men stopped calling once word got out about the divorce. Turns out being a married woman exploring her options was sexy. Being a divorced woman pushing 50 was not. My pharmaceutical rep, my trainer, my bartender, all ghosts. On to the next bored housewife, I suppose. I tried online dating, posted photos from my best angles, lied about my age by 5 years, crafted the perfect profile. The matches were depressing. Divorced dads with baggage, bitter men who'd been burned, players who saw me as an easy mark. I went on a few dates, slept with a couple out of loneliness more than desire. It was nothing like before. The thrill was gone, replaced by sad desperation I could see reflected in their eyes. Meanwhile, Lucas thrived. Lost 30 pounds, started dressing better, looked happier than he had in years. I'd see photos on Chloe's Instagram, family dinners where Meredith sat in my chair, vacations I wasn't invited on, casual moments of joy that used to be mine. She makes him laugh, Chloe told me over one of our awkward lunches. Like, really laugh. When's the last time you two laughed together? I couldn't remember. Literally could not recall the last time Lucas and I had shared genuine joy. How had I let it get so bad? When had I stopped seeing him as a person and started seeing him as an obligation? I sometimes wonder if Chloe would be so supportive if she saw what it did to me. If she knew how badly I missed the man I discarded like leftovers. The wedding invitation came a year after the divorce was finalized. Elegant calligraphy on cream cardstock. Mr. and Mrs. David Chen request the honor of your presence at the marriage of their daughter Meredith to Lucas Castellano. I stared at it for an hour. My ex-husband marrying my daughter's best friend. The girl who'd called me Mrs. C. The man who'd promised to love me forever. Together. You don't have to come, Chloe said gently when I called her crying. They just didn't want you to hear about it from someone else. She's 22. And Dad's 47. They're adults. They're happy. Maybe that's enough? But it wasn't enough. Not for me. Not when I was alone in my beige apartment while they registered for China and picked out flowers. Not when I was swiping through profiles of men who looked through me while they planned their future. Not when I'd destroyed everything for adventures that turned out to be empty calories, leaving me starved for the meal I'd thrown away. I didn't go to the wedding. Spent the day at a spa, then drank a bottle of wine alone while scrolling through the photos online. Lucas in a perfectly fitted tux, looking at Meredith like she was his whole world, Meredith radiant in a simple gown, gazing up at him with adoration. Chloe, as maid of honor, beaming at her father and best friend. The life I'd had. The life I'd thrown away. The life that someone else now lived because I'd been too stupid to value it when it was mine. My therapist says I need to forgive myself, move forward, find happiness on my own terms. But how do you move forward when you can see exactly where you went wrong? When the consequences of your choices play out on social media in real time? Lucas and Meredith just bought a house in Rocky River. 4 bedrooms for the children they're planning. The children he'll raise with someone who actually wants him, who chose him first, not as a fallback when the fun stopped being fun. I drive by sometimes. Can't help myself. Watch them unload groceries, plant flowers, live the domestic life I found so boring. He holds her hand while they walk to the car. I see him scrape the ice off her windshield, something I used to complain he didn't do fast enough. He kisses her goodbye every morning. All the things he used to do for me that I'd taken for granted, dismissed as routine. My phone buzzes with a notification from the dating app. Gerald, 52, likes your smile. His profile says he's divorced, 3 kids, looking for something real. He seems nice, stable, safe. Everything I thought I was too good for. Everything I had and threw away. I close the app without responding. Pour another glass of wine in my empty apartment. Tomorrow I'll see my daughter for coffee, where she'll talk about her bonus mom Meredith and I'll pretend it doesn't kill me. This weekend I'll go to another wedding where I'll sit at the singles table with other discarded spouses. Next month I'll turn 47 alone while Lucas celebrates with his young wife who actually wants to blow out candles with him. I did this, all of it. Convinced my boring husband to open our marriage so I could feel young again, never imagining he'd find someone who saw him as anything but boring. Pushed him into the arms of a woman who wanted what I'd thrown away. Created my own replacement, younger and better, and actually in love with the man I'd grown tired of. The cosmic joke of it all? I felt old with Lucas because I was comparing myself to younger women. Now I get to watch him with a younger woman every day, see exactly what I was afraid of, live the nightmare I created trying to avoid it. He was mine, completely, devotedly mine. Would have stayed mine forever if I'd just seen what I had. Now he's hers, and she's smart enough to know what that's worth. Smart enough to choose him first. Smart enough to be satisfied with steady love. 23 years of marriage destroyed because I was bored, because I thought I deserved more excitement, because I listened to my daughter's ridiculous advice instead of working on what we had, because I opened a door that should have stayed locked. Now I'm just another cliché. The discarded first wife watching her ex-husband live his best life with a newer model. Except I can't even properly hate them because I handed him to her. Gift-wrapped him with my indifference and delivered him with my permission. Some nights I dream about that conversation on the deck with Chloe. Dream about saying, no, that's ridiculous. Your father and I will work through this like adults. Dream about choosing differently, fighting for my marriage instead of against it. Wake up alone in a king-sized bed that feels too big, reaching out for a warm body that isn't there anymore. I check my phone, hoping for a text, but it's just a shipping update from Amazon. Or a message from Dave55 asking, you like hiking? But I made my choice, opened my marriage, and my husband's heart walked right out, straight into arms that were waiting to catch him. The marriage is closed now, just not with me inside it. And the silence in my apartment is louder than 23 years of quiet contentment ever was. I gave him permission to leave me. I just didn't think he'd take it.